The men behind the pressure had a name: Garrett and Sons Land Company, out of San Antonio. They had acquired 11 ranches in the county in 3 years, every one of them after an accident, every one of them sold by a widow or an orphan or a man who had run out of options. Rosa heard this on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, one of her ranch hands was found beaten on the road to town. On Thursday, her water supply to the north pasture was cut. On Friday, she rode to Laredo, not to the sheriff. The sheriff had looked away from every Garrett accident for 3 years. She went somewhere else. There was a man in Laredo who knew where to find certain kinds of people. For a price, he would make introductions. "What kind of man are you looking for?" he asked. Rosa looked at him steadily. "The kind that Garrett's men are afraid of," she said. The man thought for a moment. "There's only one man like that in this part of Texas," he said. "He doesn't come cheap." "I know what he costs," Rosa said. He wrote a name on a piece of paper, slid it across the table. Rosa looked at it. Cole Danner. She had heard the name. Everyone in South Texas had heard the name. She rode home, counted what she had. It was almost exactly what the man had said Cole Danner cost. She stood at Miguel's grave for a long time. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. She wasn't entirely sure what she was apologizing for. He arrived on a Sunday morning. No announcement. Just a rider materializing out of the heat shimmer on the south road. Rosa watched him come. She had expected someone frightening. What she got was something more complicated. He was 40 years old, maybe older, the kind of face that had stopped keeping count somewhere along the way. "Cole Danner," he said. "Rosa Vega," she said. She held out the money without preamble. He looked at it, then at her, then at the land around her. His eyes moved across the property with the specific attention of a man who had been here before. Rosa noticed. "You know this land?" she asked. A pause. "I've ridden through South Texas," he said. Rosa accepted the answer, filed the hesitation. He took the money, looked at the house, at the barn, at the grave at the edge of the property. His eyes stayed on the grave 1 second longer than everything else. Just 1 second. Rosa saw it. She didn't ask, not yet. She showed him the property, explained the situation with Garrett, the cut water supply, the beaten ranch hand. Cole listened without expression. When she finished, he asked 2 questions. How many men does Garrett use, and where does he sleep? Rosa answered both, and understood for the first time that she had hired exactly the right kind of man. The first week, Cole said almost nothing that wasn't about the work. He patrolled the perimeter. He fixed the water line that had been cut. He had 2 conversations with Garrett's men that Rosa didn't witness, but that produced immediate results. The pressure stopped. Not permanently, but stopped. Rosa watched him. The way she watched everything on her land, with attention and without sentiment. At night, he sat on the porch, not sleeping, just watching the darkness the way a man watches something he expects to come from it. One night, she brought him coffee. He looked at the cup, then at her. Something crossed his face. Gone before she could name it. They drank in silence. The Texas night around them, the grave at the edge of the property visible in the moonlight. "You looked at his grave," Rosa said, "when you arrived." Cole said nothing for a long moment. "How did Miguel die?" he asked. "Riding accident," she said. "That's what they told me." "And you believed them?" he asked. "I believed the body," she said. "I buried what they brought me." Cole was quiet again. He finished his coffee, stood. "Get some sleep," he said. He went back to watching the darkness. Rosa went inside. She did not sleep immediately. She lay awake thinking about the way Cole Danner had looked at her husband's grave, like a man looking at something he had put there himself. On the 10th day, Garrett sent a representative, not his usual men, a lawyer with papers. The offer was generous, more than the land was worth by conventional measure. Rosa read the papers. Cole stood beside her. Cole took one of the documents, read a specific section. His jaw tightened. Rosa looked at what he was reading. A name in the property history, Miguel Vega, signed as seller, dated 3 years ago. 3 years ago, before his death. Without telling her, your husband sold this property to Garrett Land Company 3 years ago, the lawyer said. The transfer was never completed due to certain complications. We are here to complete it. Rosa did not move, did not speak. Cole spoke instead. Leave, he said. The lady needs time to consider. The lawyer looked at Cole, at the guns, at the expression on his face. He left. Rosa held the document. Her hand was not shaking. She was the kind of woman whose hands didn't shake, but her voice, when she spoke, was very quiet. He sold it, she said. 3 years ago. Cole turned to look at her. Rosa, he said. They sat at the kitchen table. Cole set his hat down. Rosa set the document down. 3 years ago, he said, I was working for Garrett. Rosa said nothing. Not the way his men work now. I was hired to acquire land. Legally. Or close enough to legal that it held up. One of the properties I was sent to was this ranch. Miguel Vega agreed to sell. He signed the papers. I witnessed them. Rosa was very still. He told me you didn't know, Cole said, that he was going to tell you after. That he had debts you didn't know about. That the money from the sale would clear them, and you'd never need to know the land had changed hands. Rosa looked at the table, at her hands, at the document. 2 months after he signed, Cole said, I heard Miguel Vega had died in a riding accident, and that his widow was still on the land, and that the transfer had never been recorded. I left Garrett's employ the following week, he said. Rosa looked at him. Why, she asked. Because a man who sells his wife's land without telling her is not the kind of man I wanted to work for, Cole said. And a company that uses that against a widow is not the kind of company I wanted to work for. Rosa stood, walked to the window, looked out at the grave. Was it an accident? She asked. Long silence. I don't know, he said. I've wondered. Rosa turned. Her face was not grief. It was something past grief. Something that had already processed the worst version of the truth and come out the other side. He sold it, she said. Whatever happened after, he sold it. So what do I do now? Fight it, Cole said. The transfer was never recorded. Legally, this land is still yours. And I know every illegal thing Garrett did to acquire the other 11 ranches. Rosa understood then. Cole Danner had not come because of her money. He had come because of what he owed. Garrett found out within 2 days. A man who knew Cole Danner was working for the Mexican widow on the border road. The lawyers stopped coming. The armed men started. 3 riders at dawn, positioned at the 3 approach roads, not attacking, waiting. The way men wait when they've been told to make someone feel surrounded. Rosa watched from the window. Cole was already outside. He stood on the porch, looking at the 3 riders the way a man looks at arithmetic. The lead rider recognized him. Every man who worked the border for long enough recognized Cole Danner. The rider stopped further out than he'd intended. Tell Garrett the transfer wasn't recorded, Cole said. Tell him I have the original witness documents. Tell him I know about the other 11 ranches. And tell him if one more person on this property is touched, those documents go to Austin. The 3 riders looked at each other. They left. Rosa came out and stood beside him. Will that hold them? She asked. For a while, he said. Garrett will calculate whether Austin is a bigger problem than losing this ranch. If he decides it is, they won't come back. If he decides it isn't, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Why did you really come? Rosa asked. Cole looked at the grave. I witnessed those papers, he said. I didn't know what would happen after, but I was part of what happened. A man should clean up what he helped make dirty. Garrett went quiet. Not gone, quiet. The difference between a man who had given up and a man who was thinking. On a Thursday morning, Rosa found Cole's horse saddled at the post. She found him at the grave, standing in front of Miguel's grave, hat in hand, the posture of a man finishing a conversation. Rosa stopped a few steps behind him. Neither of them spoke for a moment. I'm going to Austin, Cole said. I'll file what I have on Garrett. It won't be fast, but it will be permanent. Rosa nodded. Thank you, she said. Cole put his hat on, started toward his horse, stopped. He turned. When this is done, he said. He paused, like a man choosing words he had never chosen before. If you still need someone on this land, I know how to work cattle. Rosa looked at him, the man who had helped take her land, who had come back to return it, who was now offering to stay. I know, she said. I've watched you work. Go to Austin, she said. Cole came back in the spring. The case against Garrett had taken 4 months. The land company had dissolved rather than face what Cole had brought to Austin. The 11 ranches Garrett had acquired were under legal review. 3 of them had already been returned. Cole rode in on the same south road he had arrived on months before. The same ranch, the same date. Rosa was on the porch. She had seen him coming from half a mile out. He dismounted, took off his hat. The same gesture as the first day. Neither of them spoke immediately. Rosa came down the porch steps. She stopped in front of him. Is it done? She asked. It's done, he said. Rosa looked at her land, the north pasture, the well, the garden on the east side, the grave at the edge of the property. Miguel, she said, whatever he was, whatever he did, he brought me to this land. I buried him here because this land deserved someone buried in it who had loved it, even if he loved it imperfectly. Cole was quiet. I forgave him a long time ago, she said. Not for him, for me. Can you work cattle? She asked. Better than most, he said. Then put your horse in the barn, she said. Supper's at 6. Cole looked at the ranch, at the horizon, at the door closing behind Rosa. He led his horse to the barn and stayed. This story is not about betrayal, though there was betrayal in it. It is not about forgiveness either, though there was forgiveness. It is about what happens when 2 people who have both made mistakes find each other on the same piece of ground and decide that what is still standing is worth building on. Rosa Vega had buried a man who had sold her land without telling her. She had mourned him honestly, and then she had fought for what was hers. Cole Danner had spent 3 years carrying what he had helped do to this land. He came back not because he owed a debt. He came back because some things, once you understand what they are, cannot be left unfinished. The Texas frontier did not produce many happy endings. It produced people who were strong enough to make something from what was left after the worst had happened. Rosa Vega kept her land, not because Miguel had been faithful, not because the law had worked the way it was supposed to, but because she had refused to leave, and because a man who had once been on the wrong side of the story came back to be on the right one. The land does not care who owns it. It only knows who works it, who stays, who fights for it when fighting is the only option left. Rosa stayed. Cole came back. The land remembered both of them. Every day on this channel, stories from the Texas frontier where love was earned through fire and truth cost everything. This story is a work of fiction, inspired by the spirit of the Texas border country. If it stayed with you, subscribe. Tell us in the comments. Can you love a place more than you love the person who brought you there? The next story is already on your screen.